to have you all here this evening for a special evening of time with Doti and her wonderful spirit guide, Mahalalilal.
Mahalalel.
Mahalalel. All right, let me say it correctly. Thank you. And Doti's spirit guide tonight will be giving us a snapshot of 2022 and then answer your questions about the future of the multiverse, Earth, country, state, politics, etc. Or a personal question about your home, job, health, the market, whatever, ask. Please raise your hand. Mahalalel, is that right?
Mahalalel.
Mahalalel. So let us all say that 3 times. Mahalalel.
Mahalalel.
Mahalalel. It's a beautiful name. Is from India, the province of Madras, as he put it. He died in 1825 and was quite glad to serve as Doti's guide when she started searching the universe for answers, which, by the way, happened at the age of 5. Although he said he was a little hesitant at first. Doti often tells the story of visiting the Golden Bough bookstore in Mount Shasta. Her friend Gail drew her attention to a magnet, and she was surprised to see the face of Ma. When she asked the clerk what this person was named, she said, Babaji. So evidently they've incarnated together. Later, I asked Ma why he looked so much like this magnet. He said, I am part of his incarnation. We are one. You can also find Mahalalel in the Bible. He is the great-grandson of Adam and the great-great-grandfather of Methuselah. Our wonderful Reverend Doti has been a part of UCM for many, many years. She is the pastor of the Center for Creative Living in San Jose, California, a charter of the Universal Church of the Master and a multi-faith community. She brings and they bring different perspectives from many different traditions to bring us all together in one incredible spiritual family. So Doti, please take it away. Reverend Doti Boon.
Oh, Janet.
I'm going to light this candle for all of us, and especially for our wonderful people that are in New York City and where it is 7 degrees and 9:00 p.m. We thank you for joining us.
It's so cold out here.
Absolutely.
So everyone, let me just, for those, somebody had asked me about raising of the hand. If you go on your toolbar on your video, on your screen at where it says reactions and click on that, you'll see something that says raise hand. That way, if you need to ask a question, can you please do that? Or put it in the chat. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Reverend Corey, who is president of our wonderful Universal Church of the Master. Yay. All right, Reverend Doti, it is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much. I'm always so excited and thrilled, just so thrilled to be able to talk for the Universal Church of the Master. It seems like I've been talking with them and for them and all of that for many, many years. So it's good to be here. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about Ma, and I think you might have to move the computer because I can. Corky closed the top of her computer, and now I sound like I'm a puppet that is not out with the master. It's mumbling at me. Anyway, the thing about Ma is that when he started talking to me, I was indeed 5 years old. And when we talk about me looking for answers in the universe, what it really was is I was sitting in a box that was my playhouse in a town called Lancaster, California. This box had brought in the most marvelous thing. It brought in a refrigerator. And this was just as the Second World War had started. And nobody was getting a refrigerator except my grandmother, who was very persistent. And when she got that gift of a refrigerator in a box, as you can imagine, it was huge, she put it outside as my playhouse. So I would sit there and sing songs. I knew I was going to be an opera singer when I got older. It wasn't until I was about 12 I found out I was just very tone deaf. So there went my opera singing life, right? Disappeared. But what happened is I would make up stories and I would sing, and I had learned Jesus loves me, this I know. And I was sitting in my box saying, Jesus, where are you? I love you. How many of you, when you learned some early gospel songs or some songs when you went to church, you wanted to see a manifestation of what you were singing about? And here I am, this little chubby girl sitting in a box singing, Jesus, where are you? And one day I was sitting there and I was talking about, well, I wonder where Jesus is. I wonder what God lives. I wonder if there's a Mrs. God, all the things that kids think about. And all of a sudden a man appeared. And he was all dressed in white. And he had a bandage on his head. And he sat down in front of me. And I never thought to ask about the bandage because the war had started and there were men coming home with injuries. So I just decided this man in white must have been in a war somewhere. Okay, a little girl thinking. Never thought to ask him because my mom said, you don't ask people personal questions. Now, just because he was a little waverly and I could kind of see through him didn't deter me at all because he listened to me. And as now, I like to talk, okay? So I would chatter, 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 and then he would just answer me very gently and say, okay, now, Dottie, had you thought about? And that's the way it was. And when he told me his name was Mahalalel, I looked at him and he said, you can call me Ma. And so that's how it happened. I can call him Ma, and he's very content with that. Somebody asked me, is Ma always with you? And I said, no, Ma doesn't go with me when I go to the bathroom or take a shower. That's not what spirit guides do. He's there in my consciousness. When I need him or want him, I very quickly say, Ma, could you come help? It's the same thing I do when I do readings. I just very gently sit down. Right now, I'm doing all readings by phone. And I pick up the phone and say yes, and then I start doing a reading. And it's that picking up the phone, it alerts Ma I'm on. And he's quite a showman. He says some things that are very, I want to say kind of romantic in the tone, which is great to have because he loves everyone. And Ma is, one day he told me he was Hindu, and another day he said Sikh. And I said, why did you say Hindu? He said, because you didn't know what Sikh was yet. So that's his kind of energy. He wants to take me along by small steps. And that way of looking at all religions has been fantastic because Ma has been around for a very long time. So what Ma is very upset by the anger, the frustration, not only the disease mentally and physically, but also spiritually that's in the world. And he says there's so much anger going on, and all he says is, don't you realize you're all children of God? You are children of this universe. Ma always talks about universes. I love that. When I started talking about universes, nobody had ever mentioned a multiverse or anything like that to me. But Ma had said, you people on Earth also seem to think you're the only ones in the universes. And I thought that's interesting too. He says, there is much more than you even know, and you won't know for a while. So please, every time you hear something, decide how it feels for you and learn from it. He said, the people aren't stupid because they don't have the intelligence. They're stupid because they're not open enough to learn new things. And I think that's so interesting when he says things like that, where I go, well, that's true. Sometimes I kind of close my mind up on something. And he says, always go through life with an open mind. When Janet was introducing me and said I was going to be talking about various things, there are so many things right now that are in flux. So I want you to know that when I talk about the economy and I talk about inflation, it's in flux. We're not going to have a major breakdown. Interest rates are not going to go up to 14, 15%, but it's going to be fluctuating. There's trying to become an equilibrium. And as you're looking at that, say, what can I do to support this? How am I supporting this? How am I still being part of the economy? And we don't want you to dig a hole in the backyard and bury yourself. This is a time for you to still be talking to people, being part of the economy. Same thing with the pandemic. If it scares you, do what you need to do to protect yourself. Everybody I talk to comes with a different look at it. My grandson right now has COVID, he and his girlfriend in San Francisco. And I said, what are you going to do? And he said, well, Grandma, I'm going to stay home and quarantine myself because I work in a restaurant. And he said, I can't guarantee that I'm not going to pass something on. So I'm going to do all the things that I'm supposed to do. And he is an absolute strong believer in the rights of the individual. That's putting it mildly. But for him, he is taking time to listen to other people and gather as much information as he can to make sure he doesn't pass on the disease that he has right now. I've also had a death in the family just this Sunday, which was very, very young person, only 59, passed. And that having somebody you know and love pass away is a time we all go to look to spirit. Whatever you call God, whether Jesus is your representative or Bahama Lael is your representative, of any of the people that you have heard about as you're growing up, whether you're Hindu or you're Sikh or you're Zoroastrian or you're Catholic, whatever you are, whatever your representation of God is, what Ma has been saying is please tune into them. Listen to what they have to say. This is a time each one of us should get more, quote, religious, if that's the word for you, or more in tune, or more in depth, or more connected. Because Ma says so many people are losing faith in our Creator, faith in our neighbors, but mainly faith in ourselves. So when you say, I don't want to do such and such, think about it if it's the best thing for you and everybody you know, but make your own decisions. Ma is very into us being independent as long as we're not hurting another person. So that's why I brought up my grandson. He's being independent, but he also doesn't want to hurt anybody else with this disease. So as Ma talks to me, it's always based on you are important. Love yourself, but also love those that you know. And anytime you get angry with somebody or disconnected, find a way to get reconnected, because he says that's your family. Your family might even be the person who bags your groceries. You might have every time you go to the grocery store, there's this great looking young man who waits on you and you exchange pleasantries. He has become part of your family. So think of that. Where is your family? Your family is unlimited. Start connecting with them. That's one of the things that Ma says we're losing out on right now is connection with each other. He said, we are now able to connect with people in China. We're able to connect with people in Australia. And yet we're not. We're isolating. And he said, this is a time all you have to do is reach out. You don't have to touch them physically. You can touch them mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. So that's one of the things that he wants to leave everybody with today, is that you are important in this whole web of creation. You are important. And anytime you feel depressed or less than, stop for a minute and say, I'm important. That little 5-year-old girl that I was, and with this, I'm going to ask every question. I'm going to tell you everything I know. I am important. Was a great way to be raised. Even though I was all alone, sitting in a box in the middle of the desert, I felt that I was the most important person I knew. And where does that go? I know so many people that had that independence as children, and they could hear their spirit guide. I said to Ma, why do a lot of people have a guide that they talk to, have a guardian angel, or whatever they call it, until they're 5 or 6? And he said, because they decide that it's a fairy tale, or they decide they're not good enough, or they decide that whatever that was, I'll put it away with my toys. Listen to that voice in your head. That voice that you know is not yours, because Ma says each one of us came in with, you might call it a guardian angel, you might call it a spirit guide. Ma says each one of us came in with a representation of the God spirit, and connect with it. You're not crazy when you hear a voice in your head, unless that voice tells you you're bad. If you have a voice that tells you you're wrong, you're bad, you're stupid, you're ugly, that's not your spirit guide. That's some negative issue you might be fighting with, or it's some incarnate you picked up along the way that's not there for your best and highest good. So Ma says, for everybody that I talk to remind them they are not alone. Even during this pandemic, if they feel like they're in their house all by themselves and there's nobody there, there is. Your guidance is there. But sometimes there's so much data going on in your brain, you forget to calm down enough to listen. Take a deep breath. Each one of you is priceless and perfect. And anytime you doubt that, just ask your spirit guide, what's going on? And your guide will tell you how wonderful you are. And if you've never heard that voice, it doesn't mean you're too old to ask for it to come talk to you. And your voice will answer you and will be there for you. And it's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, to be aware. You're not crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. We all have this. And so, I was talking to a woman I know that happens to be blind. And I said, do you hear your spirit guide? And she said, of course. She didn't say, I can't see a guide. She was very aware and talked to me about how she was helped during her young years when she couldn't see. She still knew things that were in front of her, or she still could remember things because her spirit guide was there for her. We are not just thrown onto this earth with no energy to connect to Creator. We have, how do you want to call that? An whether there's a word for that, where there's somebody there in between you and God, and I call it Ma. I'm sure each one of you call it something else. Okay. All right. Now, I have quite a few questions that people have called and asked me. What happens when I do a reading is I am not going to remember what I said. One day somebody said, well, you remember? And I said, no. And they said, you don't remember when I told you that I had an affair with John? No, I don't even remember John. I don't remember any of that. And they were very insulted. And I said, wait a minute. And my guide said inside, Dottie, just think of you as a velvet-lined funnel. Isn't that wonderful? And sometimes he says I'm Teflon, sometimes he says it's velvet, depending on what I'm concerned about, because somebody's going on and on about, don't you remember me? No, if I do a reading, I don't remember it. Thank goodness. Nobody can interrogate me and say, what did they say? I don't remember. And so as I do a reading and I answer questions, know that I am not going to remember the answer. So you're going to have to be in charge of your own answers, okay? And now, Janet, how do you want to do this? Do you want me to start out with people who sent in questions first?
We can do that. And we also have a couple of questions in the chat.
Oh, I don't know how to get, for those of you who are not aware, I have a wonderful spirit guide working through me, and I have a wonderful IT person over here, Corky. But as far as what this computer does, my 83-year-old years have not prepared me for this.
So we'll have you take some of the questions you have,
okay,
and then we'll talk about some that are in the chat. I will share them with you.
Okay, and keep track of my time for me, okay? So when I get close to the end, I can kind of hurry it up a bit or something, okay? I got a call. I got a question from Ken, and he wants to know what he should be aware of the next few months. And what Ma says is, you're still supposed to be taking better care of your health in the next few months, because we see some traveling coming up, and the traveling looks like it's going to be very positive. But please watch your health and stop lifting heavy things. Right now, Ma says your back doesn't like it. Okay, Ken, do you have any response to that? Ken, you want to unmute? Okay. No. And so, and if you want to talk to me, any of you that want to talk to me by phone, my phone at the office was disconnected by Comcast, and we don't know why. So I'm taking all calls on my iPhone, and that number is 408-220-5780. One more time, 408-220-5780. And all you do. No microphone, but say to. Okay, thank you, Ken. So for any of you who have been on this Zoom, what I'm going to do, if we don't answer your question or you want to ask one more question about it, call me and I'll do it for free. Now, if you want to book an entire appointment, we can talk about that. But I don't want you to go away from here not having something answered that was critical for you, okay? So don't forget, 408-220-5780. But if you try, what?
Thank you for that, Dottie.
Yeah, and if you try my office, you're going to get, this phone isn't operating or something like that with a whiny voice, okay? So you want to talk to me. Now, Judy asked me, what will the new year bring for me in terms of work and domestic life? And Ma says that your work situation, Judy, is going to be changing. You're still going to be in the same field, but it's going to be changing, so it's going to be worthwhile for you to move for a new job. Looks like that's going to interrupt your domestic life, but it also looks like it's a job that you're going to be so excited about that you're going to be writing a book about it. So know that things are going to be getting better for you if you don't mind change, okay? The other one is from Monica, and Monica wants to know when she will move back to Santa Cruz. She lived there for 27 years and is not living there now. And what my guide says, it doesn't look like it's this year. There's a move this year would be very difficult for you because we see another surgery. We see you have things going on in your life that it doesn't help for you to make that move. And also emotionally, you're not quite ready. But we see that move looks like it's in 2023. And you're not, I'm going to answer this for all of you who say, when am I going to meet my mate? Or when am I going to meet a husband? Or when am I going to meet a wife? This is a lousy year for meeting somebody new, unless you're on every line and talking to every group you can think of. People are still scared to go out. So would you please don't say, oh, there's nobody there for me. They're there. They just don't know where you are. So I think everybody should do something drastic change. And for you women, if you're looking for somebody new, change your hair. I know that sounds weird, but Ma says when they talk about your crowning glory is your hair. It's the first thing people notice about you. So he says, if you've been blonde all your life, go brunette. If you have gray hair, make it orange. He says, when you look in the mirror, you're going to see somebody new. And so you're going to change the actions, reactions, and way you present yourself to the world just by, and you can do a wash in something, that rinse that you look in the mirror. And the same with men. If you haven't grown a beard and you want to grow a beard, now's the time to do it. So every time you look in the mirror, you see yourself as wise, or you see yourself as interesting, so that you'll present yourself differently. You'll present yourself as wise and interesting to women. Or if you've had a beard and you feel like, I'm tired of this, shave it off. These things, anything to do with hair, I don't have any, so I'm real easy at telling other people what to do with theirs. But what Mon always says, this is the one thing you can change anytime you want to. So that's what he says to do. I have another person, Therese, and she wants to know, what do I have to do to draw my romantic soulmate? Stop thinking of this person has to be your soulmate. Okay? Because soulmates are great, but they're quite often when you meet somebody and you want to get to know them better, you're questioning in your head, is this my soulmate? Is this my soulmate? My soulmate? You're prejudging them. Let go of prejudging anybody you're going to be meeting and just accept them as somebody new and interesting. Have you ever done that? My spirit guide's best word for me is if somebody does something absolutely crazy, he'll go, isn't that interesting? And see, when you want to say, oh, somebody's ugly, somebody's fat, somebody's weird, just say, oh, they're interesting. That stops judgment. And Ma says that's one of the things you should do to stop the judgment. So what do I have to do to draw my romantic soulmate, let go of the soulmate, and say, what do I need to do to find a romantic partner? And then put out the energy. And the way you do that, for all of you, if this is your question, the way you do that is you write down what you're looking for. You make a list. And people, please, Ma has given, I've taught this class how to meet my soulmate, and then what? That was before the pandemic. But what Ma says is you need to be specific. You don't wake up one morning and say, I'm going to go buy a car. You wake up one morning and saying, oh, I'd like to own a Bentley, or I'd like to own a tractor, or I'd like to own a Jeep. I don't care what it is, but you have an idea of what you're looking for. So think of, there's 5 criteria that you should have for what your soulmate, that you say soulmate is going to have, what the new romantic partner in your life should be, and start out with what age are you looking for? And don't limit it. Make it broad. Make it 20-year spectrum. So if you're looking for somebody in that spectrum, you're going to know pretty much what kind of places they're going to go and what they're going to do. Okay, so first is age. Next, gender. Are you looking for a male or are you looking for a female? Be specific. The universe doesn't judge. The universe doesn't care. So, but you do. And if you do, write it down. And if you don't worry about it. The other thing is, what kind of place do they come from? Do you want somebody who comes from Beverly Hills and has been raised in all sorts of affluence? Not that they have money, but how were they raised? Because a lot of times when you meet somebody, they're so completely different than you that all you do is fight about things. And we don't want that. Okay? So it could be what country they come from, what religion they are, that type of thing. You want to make sure that you have that. The other thing, and you can go on, you can put any more in on these, but the other one I like is what kind of music do they like to enjoy? There's nothing as frustrating as driving down the street in a car, changing the channel constantly because your partner doesn't like country, western, or opera, or whatever. And so you're constantly fighting over music. That's a ridiculous thing to fight about. So when you're looking, look for somebody who likes the same type of music and same type of things like that. But be specific. If you have, my guide says if you have 50 criteria, you're close to enough. So before you go out looking for your romantic partner, make a list so you know what you're looking for, okay? And the other thing here for Therese, go back to start making your list and start putting everybody on notice that you're looking. Every person you meet has either a father who's single, a brother that's single, an uncle that's single, and let your friends know you're ready to meet a new person. The same thing with men. If you're ready to meet a new woman, talk to people. Hey, I met your sister. She's nice. I think I'd like to get to know her better. Let people help you. Just like if you were out wanted to buy a new puppy, you'd ask everybody you know, what kind of puppy do you think I should get? Well, start asking people about with your finding a mate. Okay, and it works. And it's very exciting to do that. Okay, Patricia. Yeah, well, let's talk about this online. Mom wants to get a little bit more in depth on it. What? You want to call? Yeah, you have my number, so call me. And let's talk about this online, not online, but on the phone, because this is a little bit sensitive. Okay, we'd love it if you would do that. Okay, and now Twanda, I saw you here, and Thanda. Sorry, I pronounced it incorrectly. Thanda, she's in the DC area. Hey, Thanda, are you on? How's the weather back there? Unmute. Unmute.
It's very cold.
Yeah, I talked to Josh, and he said I have a friend that lives near DC's, and he said it was very cold, and there was snow on the ground. So, thank you for reaching out to beautiful California here. We certainly do appreciate it. You have had a string of things happening that people might call bad luck, but what my guide says is that after the fire with your home, after all the things that have happened, each one of those things, if you could look at it and say, oh, this is giving me a chance to start over. Isn't that an unusual way to look? There were things that you wanted to change and you hadn't changed, and now you get the chance to start over. Ma says, start looking at it as bad luck and say, this is change in my life. I don't know how many of you do that. When something happens, you think, oh no, why'd this happen to me? And then stop and look at it. Oh, it's for me to start over. It's for me to do something. And this, and with the insurance company, please, please, please be a pest with the insurance company. Just irritate the heck out of them. I was a paralegal for 25 years and worked with PI cases, and we found the more we irritated insurance company, usually the bigger the result. I know a lot of you will probably think, well, that's ridiculous, but it's not, because nobody likes to be irritated, even big corporations, so do that. And once you get your house built, and I see that it's going to be rebuilt by the end of summer, that we see that you're going to sell it for a good price and buy a house in the location and the kind of house that you want. Please, a house with no stairs, because we see that the arthritic knees run in your family. So we want you to have a house so when you age up, you're going to be able to walk in and out without having to worry about pain, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so very much, Sonda.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow in more detail.
Okay, that's fine.
Dottie, did you want me to read some of the questions from the chat?
Sure.
Okay, from Tamara. Please ask Ma if they still see me moving to Mexico. If yes, does this look like I may move to another state in the USA before? Question mark.
Ma says, this is real interesting. Ma says that we see you moving to another state, mainly because it's close to Mexico. In other words, this is going to be slowly moving towards that, learning the language, talking to people, not learning the language that is school Spanish, but learning the Spanish spoken by the people. And so Ma's saying, yes, we do see a move for you. It looks good, and it's moving to a state that borders on Mexico. Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay.
And, Tricia Cokes. My mom passed away 6 years ago. Does she hear me when I talk to her?
You know, we're going to get into a whole other thing, so bear with it. Ma says people forget that when you pass, you're not in body. And when we say, does she hear me? She doesn't hear you with ears. She feels your energy. She appreciates your energy. And the fact that there's a love connection, when we reach out to our loved ones, there's an energy that flows between the two of us. Your mother knows you're there and your mother loves you. And so every time you think of her, there is a vibration that your mother picks up on. Never stop talking and being aware of the energy of people who've passed and communicate. But very seldom do they actually appear. There's some people who are very gifted in being able to pick up on the vibrations of people who've passed, and some that just don't at all. That doesn't mean they're not around, that their energy's not there. Just to keep talking to them. Prayer works beautifully. And one of the reasons Ma says, and this is brand new to me, so let's flow with this one. Ma says that prayer and meditation have a vibration that spirit can hear better than yelling and screaming. Meaning, if you get angry at your ex-husband that died, and but you really want to talk to him, that what you do, go into prayer or go into meditation, and they can feel that, and that establishes that bond as a positive, loving bond. Don't be angry with people who've passed. It's not beneficial for you. So every time you think of it, you say, "Wait a minute, I can let this go." Okay. What else, Janet?
Okay, we have from Dahlia Elizabeth. What should I do to stabilize my finances and bring in more cash flow?
Ma says you're good with people, and you're supposed to be working with people. And this has been difficult. This is a difficult time for you because you haven't been able to. And Ma says this is a time to reach out to everybody you know. And you're good at giving counseling. You're good at helping people. You're good at listening to people. I think you should hire out as a listener, but I don't think there's an occupation called listener. But you do that so well. So what Ma says, it's time for you to kind of look at the gifts you have. And one of them is communicating with folks, and use that to make money. And there are different jobs that you can get. Believe it or not, one of those that being good with people is answering the hotline when people call a company. A lot of people don't like that because people are upset and carrying on. But you would be so good at that because you're calm, you have a sweet voice. And if somebody calls and they're angry and upset, you can diffuse them. And so Ma says anything that you could do along in that field, you would do fantastically. Don't work with death and dying. Only reason I say that is you are so sympathetic, and it looks like it would be a little bit disturbing for you. But you could work with people, not in hospice, but people that were having a difficult time. And counseling them, you would do an excellent job with that. People for you, Dahlia. Okay?
Thank you so much, Dottie.
You're welcome, Babe. Okay.
All righty. So we have from Michelle. How is the best way for me to reconnect with my sons, 17 and 18? Raise them as a single mom.
This is going to sound weird because Ma says this to me all the time, and it sounds weird to me. So I'm going to tell you, and you can join in with me. But he says, every time they do something you don't like, say, isn't that interesting? And he says, if they get a tattoo, if you find that they're smoking dope, if you something that you might just irritate the heck out of you, you say, that's an interesting way to live a life. And accept the fact that that's who they are instead of making them wrong. Because Ma says every time you make somebody wrong, you push them away. And you don't want to do that with your kids. I have 2 boys. I know I've raised 8 foster kids. I took in teenagers with problems. So, and what I did is I put down some real standard ground rules and didn't make them horribly wrong if they broke them. Okay. And one of the things I said, to live in this house, I think this was interesting because this is one of Ma's traits you can tell. To live in this house, every time you leave the house, you have to say, Mom, I love you.
That was the rule.
That was the rule. And what happened is that the foster kids quite often hadn't said, I love you for years. And just having to say, I love you was amazing. It's the first thing it was, and then it became I love you, and then it became love you, Mama Boone, and off they dash. But I responded each time, say love you too. Your kids need to know that no matter who they are, what they are, or where they're going, or where they're coming from, you love them. Yet you have to establish things to talk about, because if you say that's bad, I don't want to hear about it, you won't. And then you say, what happened to my relationship with my kids? So we're all adults here, aren't we? I love one. And I was walking through, I'll never forget this, walking through Whitefront with my son. He was 17 and he said, my girlfriend had an orgasm last night. And I went, oh, And my first reaction as a mom was kind of, she don't want to talk about that. And I said, well, I bet she was glad, and I bet you were glad. And he said, we were both glad, Mom. And that was the end of it. But I could have gone shocked and horrified, and he never would have talked to me again about anything. Okay.
Right. I just wanted to,
yes.
I'm so sorry, Dottie. I just wanted to say there was a little bit more to it, a background that Michelle was giving. Would you like to hear that?
Sure.
So I've been a single mom since 1 and 2. We were very close. April 2020, lost my dad to COVID. He came to live with us in January 2020 and also lost my job, April 2020, etc. Then in September 2020, my sons left to go live with their dad. No communication except anger when I have reached out since then.
Okay, now let's go back to something happened. They could have been grieving about your dad. They could have been, because my guide says that was pretty strong father figure for them. But what Ma says is that when you were going through grief, they didn't know what to do, and they got scared. So they had to make you wrong, because boys don't want to admit they're scared. And so what you need to do is just keep reaching out, whether it's sending a card, whether it's texting, whether it's calling, and all you have to say is, hey, how you doing? Love you. But let them know. And it's kind of like the old Chinese water torture, okay? It's drip, drip, drip. And pretty soon they'll get it. But they're hurt, they're upset, they're angry, they're frustrated, and you are the only one that they can kick, and that's by ignoring you. You're the only one they can kick to hopefully make them feel better. And it doesn't make you feel better at all, but they're trying to feel better right now. So just let them know you love them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dottie.
You're welcome. Yes, Janet, what's next?
All righty. It's from Kimberly Fisher.
Yes.
I need a change in every area of my life. Which area should I focus on most or first?
I've got two Kimberlys. You won't believe that, I know. This is, yeah. Okay, Kimberly Fisher, thank you. What Ma's saying right now is that, Kimberly, this is a time where you're supposed to find a direction. I know that sounds like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for, Dottie. But sit down quietly and say, what have I always wanted to do in my life? And if you've always wanted to travel, I don't care if it's just from here, an hour away. Let's start with little increments. It's like you want your whole life to change, but you need to start very simply. And so if you want to travel, do a little bit of traveling. If you want to work and you want to do something different, volunteer. You're good at volunteering. Find something. I personally have never had less than 2 jobs. So think about that. If you're working right now, then also find something else to do. And you're going to find that works so well when you have a job and something else where you're giving back. And everything will start changing. Right now, you feel that everything in your life is wrong. It's not. You're breathing. Think of that. You're breathing. You can read. You can write. You can move. And let's keep expanding on what you can do, not what you feel like you're not ready to do. Give me a call. I'd like to go into that further, but it's going to be a little bit more personal. Okay? Okay, Janet.
Wonderful. From Linda Lambert. What does Ma see in the midterm elections for Democrats in 2022?
That you got to be more specific. Are you talking about assembly? Are you talking about Senate? Are you talking about state? Are you talking about national? Linda, this is. It's not that. I hope it's not a landslide for the Democrats. We need a 2-party system. Yeah, I don't care if you don't care for one party or you don't care for another party. 2-party system is a check and balance. So anytime I hear people say, well, I just think all Republicans ought to be shot. Oh, that's nice. Okay. And then who? You got one person running the show? I don't think so. We need to have the checks and balance. Ma says that this is a democracy. It's not something where we're going to have somebody walk in as a dictatorship, and we don't want a dictatorship. So we've got to keep communicating with both sides of the fence. I know that doesn't answer your question, but that's Ma's feel on it and what he has to say. Okay. Okay.
Wonderful. All righty. Ready, Ms. Dottie?
Yes.
All right. From Catherine Frosty. On a global scale, what does Ma see with climate change?
Ma says climate change is a thing, and it's not a myth. The climate is changing, but climate has always changed. We are in 100-year cycle, and we've been that for, look at the Dust Bowl. And we're looking at 100 years ago. We've got this climate change that goes on. He says the only difference is everybody's really, really upset because they can feel it, and we're more vocal than we ever were. I can complain about climate change to somebody in another country. We can all get together and complain, but the world is changing. Ma says the thing that is concerning and should be concerning people is the fact that we're running out of water that is drinkable. And what Ma says is that we don't want to have a climate that dries up everything and forces people into starvation because of dehydration. And what Ma says is there are people who are inventing a thing that I want to call a super still that desalinizes the ocean. We have plenty of ocean water, and if we can, and whoever starts this invention of taking the salinity out of the water is going to make millions of dollars by the metals that are in the ocean. So there's something stopping this because there's been patents for this for years. Somebody is stopping the resources so we can get more water, more drinkable water, more gray water that we could use for agriculture and that type of thing. There's a lot of things that can be done, but everybody's kind of putting their skirt over their head, Ma says. Sorry, guys. But, and screaming and running around in circles instead of saying, we're going to work on this. So Ma says this is a time for everybody to say, yeah, climate is changing. The whole planet is drying up, but we have more water in the ocean by far than any place else. So why don't we utilize it?
Beautiful. All righty. From Michelle, I'd like to know if Ma sees me forming a significant romantic relationship with a man this year. Either one I have met or one I will meet.
Ma says you've met one already that seems like a really nice guy, and I don't know what your fear is because he likes you. He looks like a good guy, and it's time for you and he to sit down and talk about where this relationship is going. Okay, anything else? Janet.
Yes, from Lynn Rogers. Heard from my daughter once by a letter before Halloween, not since. She has been away for a long, long time, and her card indicated love and forgiveness, but nothing further yet.
It's going to be slow, and if she gave you a return address, return it, a note to her, just say, thank you so much. I really love you. You are wonderful. No, where have you been? Why haven't you written? What's going on? Nothing negative, just real positive, loving sentiments.
I did that.
She is finding her own way. She's been very immature in her reactions to a lot of things in life. And she's coming into that maturity that you've been helping for and seeking. And so we don't want to stifle it. And she might say some crazy things to you. She might say, but I wish you would have, or you could have, or why didn't you? And you have to be very gentle with her at this point in time. Okay?
Wonderful.
Okay, Janet.
I believe that is all I have on the chat at this time.
Okay, I have one from Patty. And from Patricia, rather, and she wants to know, and this is another one. I'd like for you to call me and we'll talk about it. You have, one question you can ask me, but my guide says you're supposed to really still be in contact. There's something to be gained here, and my guide says it'll be nice, and we'll talk about it. Not tomorrow because I've booked solid tomorrow, but Friday or Saturday would be great. Just call and make an appointment, and just say I don't even have to make an appointment. If I answer the phone, I'll be able to answer your question in more in depth. Okay. And now
one more.
Oh, okay.
From Thondra. And her question is, will this virus subside this year?
No. Ma says this virus is going to be around forever. We're going to find ways, just like we did with the flu, just like we did with a lot of other things. People are looking for an instant change. And more people are coming up with different ways of handling it. So it wasn't quick. So many people were just old enough to base it on what happened when we got polio and we got a virus and we stopped polio. But times have changed and people are different. And then everybody's going, oh my gosh, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. They're doing what they feel is best for them. And that's one of those things there again. When we are saying to people, you have a chance to think for yourself, then we can't run up and say, and you're no good because you're thinking for yourself. Ma says there is one of those things that we need to support people in who they are and what they're doing and love them unconditionally, whatever it is. This virus is slow. We know it reacts to the cold and it multiplies faster in cold. So when the weather gets warmer, it's going to slow down. We're hoping when it slows down that you can swat it. But the virus itself is not going to go away completely. Okay, who else?
I think that is all I have for now.
Okay, now do you want people to raise their hand or what do you want them to do? Or should could I start asking people?
Sure.
Okay, Tricia, do you have a question? Unmute when I say your name. Tricia? Okay, I'm going right across the top.
Yes, I was wondering about, I know you had talked about dating, but I'm back kind of in the dating arena, and I know you can meet on Zoom and things, but I have people who, I'm trying to think of the question, exactly what I'm thinking.
Okay, first off, Tricia, I'm going to answer something you haven't asked, because what Ma says, you have to, one of the first people we want you to date is you. You need to tell yourself how wonderful you are, how great you are, and any person that gets you as a partner is getting a gift, because every once in a while you doubt yourself. So Ma says this is a time for you to do all the things that you know that you enjoy and are good for you, because it puts a smile on your face, puts a sheen in your hair. Oh, I love that. Ma's into hair tonight. And he says it's gonna really make you feel better. And when you feel better, you present yourself better. So this is for this month, for the rest of January. Think of how wonderful you are and how great you are. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Smitty, do you have a question?
Wait a minute. We've got a couple of more on chat.
Okay.
From Judy Hackett. Where will this new opportunity come from?
My guide says it's in California, but it's not near where you are now. Because the reason I say that, because I see ocean. So something closer to the ocean where you could go in a couple of hours or so, or close to it. So I would start looking at oceanside places and just go online and see if they need somebody like you and whatever you're looking for. Okay?
Wonderful. And Kimberly is asking, my daughter Avery is asking, will I make genuine connections with people that will benefit me and help me grow as a person? Yes,
but before you decide you're going to make friends with somebody, calm it down. Sometimes you get so excited about meeting somebody new that you don't notice that they're not there for your best and highest good. You probably think, oh, I've known some people that were, oh, well, you lost the connection. Can you still hear me?
We can still hear you.
Okay, so just Avery needs to know that she's a good person. She just doesn't have really good idea of who people are. And I love it I don't know if there's classes that can help you with that, but she needs to find out that people aren't always what they tell you. They're more what you feel from them. And she'll start meeting quality people that really work for you, for her, okay?
Wonderful.
Okay, now I have lost my whole screen, so you're going to have to somehow, Janet, what?
I'm looking at Mary Gary's screen.
Uh-huh.
Mary, you have to unshare your screen, please.
Unmute. Unshare. I'm here. I can see Smitty, and Janet. That's
we have one more on the chat.
Okay.
From Chris Miller, who was on the screen. Does Ma have any message for me?
Oh, Chris, you don't want to do that to me. Yeah, Chris, I can go on and on and on and on. There are so many messages I have for you. Mainly, Chris, you've got so much in you that you should be writing about. You've got ideas and philosophies and wonderful ways of looking at things. And you haven't experienced enough of letting yourself go and write what you want. You're a very good writer. You have a different way of looking at a lot of things. So anytime you want to put that down in words, it would be very good for you. There's more jobs coming up for you that are going to be exciting and interesting. And one job I see that involves travel. So when it comes up, Ma says, look at it and see if it's something you really want to do, because it looks like it's very beneficial for you, both monetarily and also getting a chance to see the world.
Thank you, Dottie. I'll see about scheduling a separate call with you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
How do I get rid of Mary Gary's screen?
I am working on it. I'm working on it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Keith, did you have a question?
Not for myself. I want to know if what we're doing is the correct procedure for getting rid of Magic's problem with the itching due to a skin virus she's had.
Did you try baking soda?
Yes, she did. It doesn't work. She's been to the doctor. She's been in emergency twice with it.
Yeah, because Ma says that it's like her body is too acidic. And so Ma says we want, and the only thing that Ma was saying is something that's very base. And baking soda, soda, not baking soda, but you know what I mean. So Arm & Hammer, Ma's saying soda, and he's showing me,
soda.
Yeah, kind of like soda ash is what he's showing me. So, and it's dry, and probably her skin is real dry right now, and she doesn't want to put something more drying. But it's all, Ma says, well, there's a little bit of it's not a virus, but it's type of small little, and they're not mites. It's something that's so tiny you can't really see it. And so what we want to do is put something on it that's going to snuff out its ability to breathe. So it's little tiny stuff. And that's why he's saying something dry like soda, and he was saying ash. And we don't really travel in those circles like Ma does.
Does that mean a dry powder?
Yes.
Thank you.
And rub it on, and tell her to just hold that wherever the itching is, and then after you wash it off, then put a lotion on that kind of clogs up your pores.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Wonderful, and we have one more question. Are you ready, Reverend Dottie?
Yes.
Ma?
Yes.
All right.
I'm still in the ash. I love it. We don't travel in that circle. That's what Ma said.
Let us get in the ash.
1825 is a long time ago. Okay.
Right. So from Tom and Mary Gary, they're asking the question. They are very involved in all three of their grandchildren's lives. and they're wondering if you have a message for any of their 3 grandchildren, Tommy or Katadia or Nicole.
That's real hard for me to do. You figure I have to go not only through Tom or through Mary, but also through the parent of these children. And the parent is even parent who is on another planet at this point in time. And so that's very difficult. Have those kids call me if they have a problem. Ma says that as grandparents, they're excellent, and the children really appreciate it, but sometimes they don't know how to show the appreciation. Just nobody sometimes knows the right way to show appreciation. But I don't see any major issues right now. I feel that what Ma's showing me is with your 3 kids, each one is so different, and they each have different things going on. There again, unconditional love looks like the best way to handle them. I'm not seeing any words of wisdom, but if I could talk to them individually, there again, Tom and Mary, you can have them call me and ask me a question if you want.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you. And from Judy Jacobs, I have.
Yes, Judy.
Yes, I have very close friends on the other side. Are they around me now? And she means primarily from the AIDS pandemic.
Well, you have loads of people from the other side. Their energy is around you. That's why this pandemic is scaring you, because you went through another pandemic where you were right in the middle of the AIDS epidemic in San Francisco. Judy is one of these people who knew my brother Bart, who died of AIDS. And I've known all of the work that she has done, and she spent so much of her life working with mainly men who were stricken with AIDS. And so when this pandemic came, Judy, I know it hit your heart, it hit your mind, you just kind of went down the chute, because it was like, oh my God, here we go again. But you're doing a great job. Just get out of the depression you're in. And Ma says the best way you can is make sure you only watch things that are positive on television. You only talk to people that are positive. You only read things positive. And every time something comes and hits you and starts taking you down, you do just what Ma said before, just say, oh, isn't that interesting? So you can find a way of dealing with negativity. You're not going to make it go away. You're just going to say, well, that's interesting. And try that and see if it doesn't help. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Wonderful. So I have, Keith has left us and gives great thanks. And I'm hearing from Lynn Rogers. During the pandemic.
Did we talk to Lynn?
Yes.
Oh, okay, she's already done with me.
Yeah. No, it's not I'm done with you. It's like, it looks like I have 20 more people to have ask one question. Okay. Okay. Patty and Joyce, did you have a question for me?
Give them a chance to unmute, Dottie.
I will. But they have to do it faster. I'll start singing.
It's not. It's not. It's not up to them, unfortunately.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Joyce.
See, laid all that name on me.
Oh no, I didn't put Reverend Joyce C. Brown.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I do have a question, and it's just a simple question. I'm busily right now working on writing a book, the first book I'm working on to get out, and it requires a whole different focus than other books I have that I could work with at the same time that would not require that kind of focus. You know, they're more like children's stories that are already written, and in their simplicity, they're exactly what they are. So I'm looking at balancing doing both of these. Is that a good idea, or should I just
Exactly. It's a very good idea, because it's just like switching channels on your television. When you get tired of watching the news, you switch to something else, or Hallmark or something, because what Ma says is you need to take an hour a day.
Yes.
Anytime you want to work on this book, and make yourself work an hour a day. If that's too much, make it 45 minutes. But it's a consistency so that every day when the clock says noon, you go, it's time for me to work on it, or the clock says 1. Because what's happening is you've got it inside you, it's ready to come out, but it also takes a lot of your energy, your inner energy. And so you, just like anything that takes our inner energy, Ma says you put it aside and say, okay, I'll work on it tomorrow. And so, but set it down, make a schedule for you, and you'll find that this book is going to roll off fast.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. And I see Catherine over here. She's next to, wait just a minute. Patty, did you have a question while we're still on?
Catherine has a question in the chat.
What?
Catherine does have a question in the chat.
Catherine does. Okay, wait just a minute. Patty, did you have a question?
I don't, Dottie. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, what's Catherine? I'm looking at her smiling face right here. So what?
Okay. Her
Really,
question
Dottie,
is,
could I just? This is a little bit difficult to talk about, but I am doing really good compared.
Well, but you had a major loss in your life. Catherine, Ma says you've had a major loss in your life, and you keep thinking that things should be easy. And right now, things are not easy. And what you need to do is when you get up every morning, to do some prayer or meditation and talk to your honey. Okay? And just say, hey, I need to, and it's kind of like a little kid going knock, knock, knock on the door. You're knocking on the door and say, I need to talk to you. You might not hear a voice coming back, but something is going to change in the atmosphere of your home. You might walk by and think, that painting wasn't like that yesterday. Or the clock might bong at a time it shouldn't. Because he's trying to get back to you, and he's doing things, and you're just kind of straightening the picture, saying, oh, that's not. You're going on, and you don't realize he's communicating with you, okay? You expect a voice or a trumpet or something, but he is communicating with you.
Actually, I do know he is, because he's come and saved me at least 15 times since he passed.
Okay.
It was like divine intervention. So
that's exactly what it is.
I totally believe that he's got my back, and it's just, and I'm working through my grief, and I feel I've kind of progressed pretty significantly since it'll be a year in 5 days. And
right.
So, thank you.
And take care of yourself on the anniversary of his death. Do something special for you. Don't just let it pass and then go, oh, yeah, it was a year. This is a big thing. And you know that Janet Childs is so good at giving advice on death and dying. And there are so many people you know that are very spiritual, very sweet, very nice people. And don't think, oh, well, that's all I talk about, and they're getting tired of it. Don't do that to yourself. Say, they love me, and I know they don't mind, and because they don't.
I will tell you, it's the year of, I went through already a whole year of firsts and everything. His birthday, my birthday, our wedding anniversary, I went and celebrated those things.
Good.
Even if I went by myself, I did it.
Good.
And I'm celebrating. So thank you.
But Mom says, don't say, even if I went by myself, say, and I went by myself because I wanted to celebrate. Okay.
Well, actually, I never go anywhere by myself because he's always with me.
Right. Thank you. Exactly the right attitude. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay. Mary and Jim, you're next on my radar here.
Okay, I have a question. Does Ma have any insight as to what's going on with Teddy?
Mary, get closer to the microphone.
Does Ma have any insight into what's going on with Teddy?
Who is this?
Teddy is our grandson, our youngest grandson.
Whose child?
Hillary's.
Are you talking about emotionally or physically? Because emotionally, he feels stressed.
Well, and physically. Stress, yeah. Stress is, for him, is understandable. His dad is deployed right now, but physically.
Right. Yeah, and it's like there's so much that this young man wants to say, wants to do, and for some reason it's not happening. Um, and Ma says that, have you spent much time with him?
Not really.
Because he needs your understanding.
Okay.
As a nurse, as a grandmother, as all of those things, he needs somebody who can intuit what he wants, because his needs aren't getting met for him, and it's coming out physically as much as emotionally.
Okay, well, I saw a little bit of that at Christmas time, and he would come over to me and just sit on my lap, so I can see that.
Right.
So, all right, we'll make an effort to.
Yeah, I don't see there's anything drastically wrong with him. His development's a little bit slow, but during a pandemic, we've seen that with all kids. The natural development is either really escalated because mom's with them all the time, or slowed down because there's not interaction with other kids. So, but he's going to be doing fine.
Okay, great. Good
Okay.
news.
Good. Okay, I'm just taking the next name here. Laura? Oh?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. And I talked to Kimberly. Okay. Has everybody been answered, or do I have another screen? How do I move my screen?
In the meantime, Dottie,
in
the meantime, would you be willing to answer a couple of questions that came
Yeah.
in the chat?
Yeah.
So from Lynn Rogers, during the pandemic, the group home put Vanessa from a walker to a wheelchair. I help her stand and walk on parallel bars sometimes. Will there any other help come?
Well, yeah, I mean, where are you, Lynn? Lynn, are you specific with them about what kind of help they need to give her?
Yeah, the doctors told them, the funding agency, but they don't want to let her stand up.
Yeah, they're afraid she's going to fall and you're going to sue them. This is just all about money. It's not, and I'm sorry to say that, because Mom says they just want to make sure that she's stable. So can you visit her in the group home?
Well, it's not very safe right now. I go in the garage and I can help her on parallel bars, but I'm only one person. I would like for her to keep her ability to walk. And so I'm hoping something will turn up to help.
But can you see her like every day for 15 minutes for parallel bars?
I've been trying to do that. There are constraints right now because of there was a whole period last year where I couldn't see her for months. And right now I can again. But I think in the long run, she'll need additional help. So I was just wondering if the universe might bring some.
Not right now. It looks like we have people going back to work that are positive. This is a difficult time getting help anywhere. I have 2 clients that run group homes, and they're screaming for help. So right now, you are her best help. You're her best adversary. So what Ma says is just, figure out and give a time, like 3 o'clock or sometime, and say, I'm going to come over at a certain time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And yeah, as much as you can each day. And that's going to keep her ability to move her legs and to step. Okay. Good. Okay, somebody else just flashed on here. And do I have somebody on the chat line?
Yes. There's one, again, I thought this was a great question from Mary Gary. We have been very active in our grandchildren's lives. Does Ma have any advice for us?
Yes, take a vacation. Because this is a thing that your grandchildren are all adults. I know it doesn't look like it and it doesn't feel like it, because I have kids too. I know my grandchildren they're twins, just turned 29, and I still feel like I need to help them. And they don't think they're kids, but I do, and we have that. Sometimes we have to let go and let them be. who they need to be. And you've got some great grandkids there, but they know they can depend on you, which is good on one hand, but on the other hand, you wish they didn't depend on you that much. So what my guide says is just, all of what I said before is they're good kids, love them, but start treating them more like adults. Okay.
Beautiful.
And Amara McRatney, you're up there. Did you have a question?
Okay, we have one more on the chat too.
Okay,
Want to go with the chat first or what?
Let's go with you, Amara.
All right, we'll go with me. So I've got a couple things going on this year. One is I want to find my romantic partner. So any information about that would be good. I've been looking, haven't found him yet, I don't think.
Where have you been looking? Where have you?
Well, I'm on, I'm dating lights, different places. People say something, I follow up, but
You're gonna. How are you walking these days?
How am I walking? Oh, I'm walking fine. I'm great.
Join a walking group.
Oh, yeah, I might. I don't like walking with anyone else. It's more of a meditation for me.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll run into someone while I'm walking. How about that?
Yeah, what I see is that a lot of men are out walking these days because they're not able to go to the gym that they liked, or they're not able to, because you want to meet a man who is healthy.
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
You don't want to meet a man that you're going to have to push his wheelchair around. So look for a man that's doing something healthy, either walking, going to gym,
or biking, or
join a bowling league. I went to bowling, and I didn't bowl. But my son had his birthday party at a bowling league. There were so many good-looking men there. I was amazed because you think
I'll think about that, Dottie. They wouldn't want me on the team, but I'll go look.
I don't care. Go be a cheerleader. But start looking for men who are out there doing something.
Okay.
I told somebody, if I was out looking for a man, and that doesn't sound very soon, but anyway, what I was saying is I always like to play chess, and I'm a good chess player, and there's so many intelligent men who kind of a little bit loner, kind of sensitive, that play chess. Also, when I was young, I had a pilot's license. So if I was looking for a man, I'd go down to the local airport and take flying lessons again to reestablish that. But you see what I mean? Find something you really like to do, like walking, and find people who like to do the same things you like to do.
All right. Okay.
Because Ma says we see you with a man who's a little bit younger than you, but he doesn't look. I mean, he's not 25. He's a little bit younger.
I don't want a 25-year-old. That's way too much work.
I know. Yeah. You hate to have to feed him. I know.
Yeah, exactly.
But Ma says he's a little bit younger than you, but he's very much he wants to keep his body healthy.
Okay, good.
And so, and if there's a hiking group you want to join, I mean, there's groups all over the place, but they're the ones that are getting out, because you can do these things with distancing and it's healthy. So that's what you need to find.
That's great advice. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good advice. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Janet, you said I had.
All righty. So we have from Linda Lambert.
Okay.
Will the Voting Rights pass? Will the Voting Rights Act pass?
Very, very close. Ma says it looks like there's a person that their health isn't very good, and if they die, it won't. I don't know what that means. I'm just letting you know that because I'm not even familiar that much with politics. But Ma seems to watch it. Ma seems to watch our politics, and it's interesting. He's got a whole thing right now that says you are going to have to watch who you elect and make sure they're not ready to defend the Ukraine. See, that's our big issue right now, is the Ukraine is going to be asking us to help them defend themselves against Russia. And Ma said, you've got to watch that one. The politics right now is not just local. It's for the local party or anything else. It's choosing a person to elect who is good at discussion and is good at negotiation, so we don't get in another war of protecting the country for right now. We're still in the upheaval from Afghanistan. We're still, and Ma says that We fight wars. Somebody, when I did this for the Center for Creative Living at the Billy DeFrank, somebody said, when will there be peace in the United States? And Ma said, the United States is based on war. It started out of the Revolutionary War. The United States has never been at peace. It's always been at war with either themselves or somebody else. And so each person you meet, you need to be peaceful with. If you scream at the person who's too close to you on your freeway, then you are not peaceful. And so Ma is so into, look at yourself, folks. How peaceful are you when you say, I want peace? What does that mean to you? If you do a racial slur, or if you do anything that makes another person less than, you're not a peaceful person. And so start thinking about, how am I bringing about peace day after day? And Ma being a peacemaker, Ma talks about Gandhi. Ma talks about all the people he has known that were peacemakers. I love this about Mother Teresa. He said, Mother Teresa was not peaceful. She had quite a temper on her, but she always used the temper that she had to make sure she got what she needed for her people. In other words, you're not always peaceful and get what you want. Sometimes you have to use a little bit of that anger, but not by putting people down. And so, as I said, you'll hear me talking about this so often because Ma is really concerned that we are getting angrier and angrier as people. And he says, if we do that, we're going to lose out on the joy there is in being alive. Okay, Janet, you said something.
No, I'm looking at my chat box and it looks like, wait a minute. I'm way down at the beginning. I apologize. Let me go right down to the end again. And I heard from our wonderful Smitty, that he has to leave again. And from Linda, I have a big thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else want to talk about something? How are we doing? Paul, did you have a question?
Hi, Dottie.
Yeah, did you have a question for me?
Hi, Ma. No, I'm just blessed to hear you and Ma and all your wisdom. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank Ma for his wisdom. I think that's what happens after you've lived as many years as he has. He always looks at the other side, it seems like. It's not that he is objecting to what people do. He wants them to look at themselves before they point fingers at somebody else. And I think that's an interesting way of being. Okay, and that's what he is. He's a being.
That's true, but you also like to put in your little spin in stories, which is very nice too.
Well, thank you so much.
And we have a question from Tricia Cokes.
Yes, Tricia.
Yes, I wrote it in the chat, but maybe it got lost.
I apologize.
No.
Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah. It was about 10 minutes ago.
I answered something for you, and what can you ask it again, Tricia?
Sure. I am during the pandemic, I realized I wanted to visit the Billy DeFrank Center, and I'm both excited and unsure about going by myself, because I realized something new about myself during the pandemic in the year and a half or so that we were kind of on and off Zoom or on Zoom and not seeing people. So I kind of was going inside myself, and anyway, so what is
Tricia, would it help if I read?
Yeah, maybe read it too, because I added to it too.
Okay. During the pandemic, I realized I'd like to visit the Billy DeFrank Center. I'm both excited and apprehensive to go visit alone.
You won't be alone because I'm going to be there. Corky's going to be there. Janet's probably going to be there. Janet does our meditation for us every Sunday and plays the guitar. There's people that you could see here on the chat that are going to be there, and we're very welcoming. It's a little bit difficult. The center faces the Alameda, and our church services are in the back. So don't go up the stairs. Say, I will not go up the stairs. I'm going to go to the back, and you'll see a big sign that says Center for Creative Living. And we'd love to have you come. Okay. Especially this coming Sunday, we're going to be having our wonderful Reverend Janet Childs, who marched with Martin Luther King. How many people do you know that marched with? I know Janet and our wonderful Joyce C. Brown, and they're going to be talking about. I'm sorry, it's going to be Eileen. Hi. See, yeah. Obviously, Ma is not speaking at this point in time. Janet and Dr. Eileen are going to be talking about, I'm sure, civil rights and Martin Luther King. And I don't know what all you're going to be talking about, Janet, but it's going to be great. And so, Tricia, just come on down. It's everybody's welcome. For those of you who said, well, what happened to church, Dottie? You moved from your building. Well, we closed down our building because they raised the rent way too high, and there was a pandemic. And so we moved our church to the Billy DeFrank Center, which is at 938 the Alameda. And it's right downtown. It's easy to get to with bus and everything else. And we're in the ballroom, which is great. And it's a nice place to be to talk to us. And so it's a Billy DeFrank LGBTQ Center, and they were very nice. They called and said, Dottie, would you like to do church services here? We want a spiritual church on Sunday. And I said, well, sure. Right then we needed someplace if I was going to continue doing church services. So that's where we are. And so, Tricia, if you feel like you can't make it by yourself, give us a call on Saturday. You've got my phone number. Say, I can't make it, and I might have somebody come pick you up.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing about I can come in early February because I'm in a class for the end till the end of January.
Okay, well, just keep my number and let me know what's going on. Okay.
Okay.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so very much.
I'll get it again from Janet because I didn't write it down when you told me, but I'm sure she did.
Well, do you have pen and paper?
Not with me right this second. So
I'll give it to her. No problem, Dottie.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
You can text it to me, Janet.
Okay.
And please, anyone who would like to come down to Sunday service, we have interesting speakers. And if any of you want to speak, you have to wear a mask and you have to have been vaccinated. But if you're interested in speaking, if you've thought, I want a platform, I want my voice heard, then let us know. And as long as you're not talking negatively against anybody, any religion, we're there. No politics. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We talk about the Creator.
I could speak, so I can talk to. I can chat to Janet about that.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
And anybody else? This is open forum for people to come talk.
Okay.
And we have a question from Michelle.
Okay, now I've got two Michelles. Which Michelle? Is this Michelle K or Michelle? What?
Michelle Stimac.
Okay.
All righty. If there is time, I know I already got a message. What do you see regarding my future with UCM?
Have you decided that you want to help the UCM? I know that sounds bizarre, but right now we need people to talk about UCM. And this is not unique. Every church that I have talked to the pastor, the church, because of the pandemic, people are leaving the church. It's not that they're leaving forever, but they're not connecting because they are scared and they've got a lot of things going on. So anytime you have a chance to meet an organization that fills your needs, then do it. And if UCM fills your needs, Michelle, work with it, help them. They are always looking for help. And so helping people is, for me, being able to reach out and help people. Anytime I get depressed, my guide says, and who have you helped today? One of the things I did during the pandemic, and Michelle, I'm going to piggyback on your question, but for me, when I feel like, oh, life's kind of lousy, Ma says, call somebody. So during the pandemic, I call 4 people a day. 4 people, they don't have to be necessarily friends, relatives, or any of that. I just pick up the phone and call somebody and say, hey, this is Dottie. Well, I do have their number. Thank you, Corky. I pick up the phone and I call say, hey, this is Dottie. What's going on? And think about that. If you could reach out to 4 people a day, that's pretty good, isn't it? And wouldn't you love sometime if you're sitting at home and you're not working and you're just there and you've been on the line all day and talking about business, and all of a sudden a bright voice calls you up and say, hey, how are you doing? And that's what I'd say to you, Michelle. If you were interested by Patricia, if you were interested in working with UCM, they need that kind of help and they'd love to have you work with them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. David, did you have a question? David Skinner? Hello?
Okay, now I'm not muted.
Okay, David, good.
I don't have a question, but it sure is nice to see you and Corky and the rest of the folks here. So enjoying your service here tonight.
Well, thank you so much, David, and we miss you. And, yes. It used to be I'd see you every once in a while at UCM, and I miss you.
Well, yeah. I appreciate that. I miss you, too. I have to come pay you a visit.
Okay, sounds wonderful. We need more men in our lives here. Okay, so come on by.
All right.
As a matter of fact, that's another question from Chris Miller. Will there be a new men's team at UCM?
I know. I don't know. Ma has just not involved with that enough to. The question to Ma just says, if you start it, you know that about Ma already with his answers. He says, it looks like you'd have to start it, Chris.
Yeah, good. Good idea.
Wonderful. And from Dahlia, Elizabeth.
Hi, Dahlia. Yeah, unmute. There you go.
Okay, there we go. Is there anything else I can do to build more community and bring love into my life?
Just what I was saying. Call people. If you meet somebody that you have a connection with, take down their number or take down their email and either text them, email them, or call them. And that's how you make community. In the olden days, we used to meet for coffee or meet, and nowadays that's kind of difficult to do. I want to tell you a quick story because this is so funny. A friend of mine was on a plane coming here from New York, and she was sitting down and she looked at the guy next to her and she said, hi, well, why are you going to California? And he said, oh, I'm going to go see my psychic. And she said, who's your psychic? And he said, Doti Boon. And she said, I know Dottie. And she said, we had the best conversation. And if I hadn't talked to him, I never would have known that he was interested in metaphysics, that he knew you, and think about that. This whole degree of attraction, we attract people that with our energy, we attract same energy people. So when you're thinking about that, reach out to people. You ask people, how did you meet Dottie? And they'll say, oh, she just walked up and introduced herself. And everybody says, yeah, that's Dottie. So think about that. People are kind of afraid to just say, hey, oh, I really like your dress. Where'd you get it? Or, hey, I love your hairdo. Or what? Just something nice and pleasing and pleasant. And then you get to talking. And you'll find out that you probably have something in common. Or some person that you both know. or you might even know Kevin Bacon. You know, if any of you have seen that 7 degrees of Kevin.
Separation. Yeah.
Yeah, I finally met a person who knows Kevin Bacon. And I thought that's there it is, you know. But meeting people is so easy. I'm writing a book, and I mentioned this before because I think it's so funny. I was writing my memoirs, and I've got all these stories of all these people I've met and what I've done, and you know, and all of this, and I thought, so it was going to be Doti's memoirs, and I thought, who wants to read that? And so instead, the name of it now is Toothless, Bald, and Fat: The Memoirs of Mystic. Because I have never let any of that keep me down. I've been fat all my life. And people say, well, if you lost weight, and I said, what? You'd like me less or more? And they, oh, no, I like you just the way you are. Thank you. That's a perfect thing to say. Because people get caught up in, oh, I can't meet some stranger because what if they think no, they don't care. If you're friendly, they don't care. And join a group. Oh. And if they do care, that's their problem, not mine. That's interesting. If they care, that's interesting. But start looking around at groups and see if you like to write. There's writing groups all over the place caused by this pandemic. There's groups that are doing so many marvelous things. Watching baking shows. Watching things that are unique for them. So start looking at what are you interested in and how do you meet people who are interested in the same thing. Okay, well, like right now, Thanda is calling us from Washington, D.C., is online here. And she's a friend of mine, excuse me, Josh, who I was at a party 48 years ago, and I was standing there, and I had just been reading The Hobbit, and this guy walks up, and is smoking this little pipe that looked like a little gnome, and he had curly brown hair, and I said, are you a hobbit? And he looked at me and said, you want to see my curly toes? Hairy toes? And I don't have to go that far, but what's your name? And we started talking. And he needed a place to stay. And he was a chemist, and he was here, and he needed a place to stay. I hadn't found an apartment. So he lived with us for 8 months. And my kids call him Uncle Josh. And Uncle Josh is the reason that I know who Thanda is. I could very easily have looked at this guy and thought, well, he's a little bit weird. And instead, I made a friend. And I do that consciously because my friends are all the colors of the rainbow and all the degrees of education. And they're so interesting because if you're interesting, I want to know you. And everybody on this screen is interesting. You're interested in metaphysics. You're interested in the future. You're interested in what's going to be happening. You're interested in politics. Look at all the questions of these very interesting people. Health, healing. Every one on here, the people on this board could be your friend. But they don't know who you are. They've seen your smiling face or your frowning face. They've gone into your living room or your kitchen. I'm in the kitchen, and so we get to know people. And think of that. Right now, you've had a chance to meet 25 people. And you can say, oh, I never get to meet people. Well, you just have. And take that energy and move forward with it. And you'll find some people you just adore. And other people are a bore. They're boring because they've got so caught up in who they are that they can't reach out until they find out that they're wonderful and everybody else is. And then they can't wait to meet other people and find out how wonderful they are. And they are very, very interesting people. And so as you think about what Ma says, we're all God's children. So you don't want to make somebody wrong for something they're doing, but just because it's different. It's not bad. It's different. Now, when I say that, I'm excluding people who are psychotically messed up. I mean, there's a group of people that I don't particularly want to be around, and they're a little bit really, really in a bad way, and they need help. Unfortunately, they're also still very interesting, So what you do is you say, okay, but those aren't the people I want to invite into my house. But you're going to meet a lot of people in life, and keep a list of the people that you meet. And if you haven't heard from them in the last year, call them, or email them, talk to them. People are withdrawing, and Ma says all we have is love as a spiritual component of each one of us. And when I was talking to Catherine about losing the love of her life, he's not lost. He's contacting her. You don't lose people you love. Their spirit is always there. And all you have to do is accept that spiritually they're there for you. Now, you'll hear about people that are communicating. You'll hear about people who aren't communicating. Just know that you're unique and that you are interested in things that are spiritual and metaphysical, because you know that when we die, we're not gone. You know within your heart and within your brain that there are people's energies all around us. And so we get a chance to talk to them. I want to share something that I did that had happened in a reading. I had a woman who called me, and she was really upset because there was all this activity about twice a year at her place. And she lived down in Santa Barbara. And all of a sudden, there was all this racket. And she noticed it happened about twice a year. All this racket, and her water faucets would get turned on, her electric lights would go on, but she couldn't see anything, but she could feel all this energy. And she called and she said, Dottie, could you come down and find out what's happening? So I went down there, and what was happening, this was a tribe of Chumash Native Americans who had died, but they were still having powwows. And this is what was happening. Her house happened to be in the road, from the road to the trees where they had a powwow. And they didn't care, but they went through it twice a year for their ceremonies. And they were so fascinated with turning on water and turning on electric lights and all that. And she was like, I can't stand the furor it causes. What should I do? I said, well, we'll talk to him. And she said, really? And so I said, okay. So I got real quiet, and we did a ceremony. And I talked to him, and I said, please, she loves having you in the grove for your ceremonies. But every time you go through her house, like your tent, you'd be upset if somebody went through your tent twice a year. So she called me the next year, and she said, Dottie, thank you so much. She said, I woke up and I could hear all this ceremony going on over in the grove. And I was so glad that they'd returned, and so glad they didn't go through my house to do it. So what had I done there? There again, I didn't make them wrong. I knew there was something going on we could handle. And when you look at any picture that's presented to you of people doing something, our wonderful indigenous people, and the indigenous people all over the world, they still are connected to the land even when they're in spirit. So if you're living on property where weird things are happening, call me and I'll give you some ceremonies you can do so you can talk to the indigenous people so they can calm down the energy. But we have energy. And the reason I brought that up, because after we pass from this area of life, we go into another area. But some people still have that firm connection, and those are the indigenous people. Or we have that firm connection with somebody we still love. Okay. Well, my dear,
is infinite. That connection is infinite and everlasting.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Now, Jenna, did you have any questions, or did Corey have any questions that they want to ask, that she wants to ask?
You know, I don't know about Corey.
I'm good.
I think we're good. We're just so grateful to be in the presence of all of you right now. And,
isn't that wonderful?
And we also wanted to just say thank you, Dottie, for your gift of wisdom. Thank you, Ma, for using our beautiful Dottie as your channel. And we are grateful for the messages that we have received today. We are full of gratitude. And I'd like to offer, Lynn wanted to have a few moments to say what you can expect in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So Lynn, would you be willing to share
sure.
your sentence?
Yeah. Yes. A moment. In 2 weeks, we're going to get together here again invite everyone to come. Our title is Make the Most of 2022 Using Intuitive Tools. Chart your way through challenging times, have some fun. Discover your personal year number, Chinese animal aspects, how to navigate by stars and sunspots. Bring paper and pen. 2 weeks from now.
Fantastic.
Wonderful, wonderful.
It sounds exciting. Many different modalities for us to capture.
And I want to put out again, you know, I would love to have any of you decide to do a service. And so if you're not in the Bay Area, then you could do it on Zoom, okay, because we're still Zooming our church services. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh. And so we also are videotaping them. So by Wednesday, by Wednesday, the videotape is up and you can watch it. So we'd love to have you, decide that you want to do something for our Center for Creative Living. And that always benefits UCM, Universal Church of the Master also. So it would be great for any of you to want to come and speak.
And that would be a wonderful thing too, as we move our educational programs from one Tuesday night a month to 2 Tuesday nights a month. So we invite you, contact us at the Education Committee as well, and we will get you so that your voice is heard. Now, I want to thank wonderful Reverend Doti Boon for her amazing, amazing, amazing talk. And I would like to offer our president of UCM, and she has put up a few slides here, a slide for us. And Corey, do you have anything to share and say with us?
You're muted.
Are you hearing? We're not hearing anything you're saying, Corey. Can you unmute?
Okay, can you unmute?
Now we can.
Thank you. All right, thank you everybody for being here tonight. I really appreciate all of you, no matter where you come from and what walk of life you come from. And like I said, I'm gonna plug myself. I'm speaking at CCL about change, as Mom mentioned tonight, and on the 23rd of January. So I hope to see everybody there. And
wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And so there's exciting things in the future for each and every one of us. Be gentle with yourselves, my friends, as you move forward into life. Remember that you are a light shining in our world and your presence makes a difference. And I think we've just heard that message magnified and amplified by wonderful Ma.
And thank you,
Reverend
Janet, Corey, Dottie, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. Thank you very much. And please, if you need another question, call and ask another question. If you want to book a reading, my readings are $75 for a half an hour, $125 for an hour, and they're on the phone. And if you want to do that, just call my number, 408-220-5780. And but if you want to ask just one more question that was a little bit too personal, maybe to have answered in this format. Okay. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, everybody.
And we'll see you later.
Have a wonderful
hope to see you Sunday. And
love to our East Coasters.
Yeah.
Thank you for staying with us.
Thanks so much.
Janet. Okay. Sounds good.
Bye, everybody.
Bye now.
Bye.
Love.
Love.
Thanks, Doc.